Hello, you international music junkies. Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. I am the Phil part of the equation. Over there, on the other side of your screen, is the Ben part. And it's lucky we've got him because he's the man with the draw, and these are the semi finals.
They
Ben,
are the semi-finals. I'm kind
um,
of nervous
I
because
have to, perhaps we should remind people that they are the semi finals of this thing, the one hit wonders of the 1990s. These are records by artists that were hits. We're using the UK chart, so some of our viewers in other parts of the world may not know these records very well, but if you lived in Britain in the 1990s, you could not get these tunes out of your ears wherever you went. And we've got four of the finest battling it out in the semi finals. All these acts are remembered only for these songs and not a lot else by the wider public.
yeah. Do you think we've started something here that has sort of snowballed out of control? The fact that
I
I've
thought
actually got
that after about
at
the
the
second episode of it, to be quite honest. But yeah,
we've taken on something quite large here, haven't we? Really?
we have. We did actually miss. We made a short list of 64 one-hit wonders, and in all flavours. But we did miss a few that were notable, which were perhaps a shame. But I suspect, given our taste and our perceptions of these records, I don't think any of the ones we missed would have made it into the final four.
No, I don't think they would have. Because what did we come up with this week? It was the Connells, 74, 75.
Yeah,
Yeah, and what was the other one? The Way by
the
someone.
way and the one about what were they? They were that sort of mellow American group with a girl singer, and it was about "Kiss Me Under the Milky Twilight."
Oh, Sixpence None the Richer.
That's the one. That's the one.
Kiss me beneath the milky twilight. Kiss
Well,
me.
maybe after the show, Ben. But okay, so
Go on.
come on, draw them.
Oh, let me just move my water and my packet of hobnobs out the way.
These are completely random draws. They have been all the way through. It's but we haven't seeded them. It's not like professional tennis. This is more like
It's not.
the FA Cup of soccer that we
Oh,
have
I'm
over here.
I'm genuinely nervous.
Come on then.
Oh. All right, are you ready? Right, the first one out is. Well, it's going to be one of four, so there's a 25% chance that it's going to be this one. It is. Dum 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 dum.
Dum, dum, dum. So Born Slippy by Underworld.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't want to pull the next one out. Oh, it's going to be this one here. Look, tightly folded up so nobody can see.
Okay.
Oh, God. Oh no.
I'm
Oh
waiting.
no, Phil. Oh. It's White Town, Your
Ooh,
Woman.
okay.
Oh.
So that's
Oh,
the
your video's gone off of my screen.
Have I? Oh, well, I can still see myself on my screen. So,
Oh, that's all right. Well, I've got the benefit then. I can't see you.
well, it's a double benefit for our viewers if they can't see me. But okay, so this is kind of like the electronic half of the
Of the draw, yeah.
draw.
It is, very much so. I was just going to have a look at Your Woman by White Town. Because obviously I did promise we'd do some actual research.
Yoti Mystery.
And
Was he called Mystery or Mishra or something like that? I can't remember.
yes, something like that, wasn't it? It was Yoti. It was spelled Jyoti or something like that. Right, I've got it up because I think Bing Crosby gets some sort of songwriting credit in it, doesn't he? I think in.
Now I believe that record, well, it was a big hit here in the UK in '97. Did it reach number one or number two? I can't remember.
Number one.
It was a number one.
Yeah.
And I believe it was also quite a success in Canada and some other European countries as well. It was also, I think it reached number 23 in the US. I think it was a hit in the US, probably not as well known there as it is here.
Because I think Mark Radcliffe played it on Radio 1. I think he found the song, if I remember rightly from what I read earlier. So, but I'm pretty sure, it did go to to number one, and it's got many themes to the song, I believe.
It was also number one in Iceland,
Oh,
in case you wanted to know.
yeah. Well, do they have many record shops in Iceland?
I'll tell you, they have some very cool music in Iceland because,
The Sugar Cubes.
well, they have their own music, of course. They have Björk and Sigur Rós and others, but they also have good taste in music. And I've been into cafes in Reykjavik where they play alternative stuff like and no, hang on, hang on, I may be.
Oh, here we go.
I may be mixing this up with somewhere else.
Here
No,
we go.
no, I was going to tell a Johnny Cash story, but the Johnny Cash thing was in Oslo, so I won't do that.
Oh
but,
God, Gloria Hunniford, where haven't you been?
No, in Iceland, I remember they were playing Neil Young's "On the Beach" album in a cafe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Well, a song from it, and
Yeah.
and it's all kind of sort of quality stuff. You don't hear rubbish. Well, you probably do maybe some places, but you go into an average cafe or bar in Reykjavik, and the chances are the music's pretty good. Whereas if you walk into the average high street bar here in the UK, chances are what you hear will be not quite so good.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite a change. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, where White Town got to on the chart. So it got to number 4 on the Canada Top Singles chart, the RPM Top Singles chart. It was number 2 on the Canadian Alternative Rock chart. Where did it go in the US? Let's have a look. Oh, Billboard Hot 100. It was a number 23, which is quite an
Better than
achievement.
24.
Quite an achievement in that market. And where did it get the highest? Well, it was also number 1 in, say, Iceland and Israel, and number 2 in Australia. So it's pretty big around the world.
Yeah.
It was pretty good for a record that he made on his own in his room.
Using an Atari. Did he use an Atari or a Spectrum, something like that?
Something like that, wearing nothing but a pair of pants and some socks.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I made that last bit up, but we probably would have been.
I would have done it. Oh, that's the way I would have done it. I wouldn't even have bothered with the socks, just pure pants.
So, okay, so that's White Town and Your Woman. The other track is Born Slippy by Underworld.
Underworld.
Now they are what would generally now be described, particularly on the other side of the Atlantic, as an EDM group, electronic dance music. Yeah, I mean, this, of course, was included on the soundtrack of the movie Trainspotting, which starred Ewan McGregor, but directed by Danny, what's his name?
Boyle.
Danny Boyle, that's it.
Yeah.
Who, for anyone who is not from the UK, Danny Boyle is a film director from the north of England. He's made some other films as well. He also directed the opening ceremony of the 2012 Olympics in London. I don't know why
he did,
telling you that, but we just thought I'd tell you. Anyway, it was that movie that this track was featured in, and that's really why it became so big, is it not, Ben? It was on the soundtrack, which
it was,
sold a lot, became an iconic soundtrack album of the mid-90s.
Yeah, from 1996, all about the it's supposed to be from the perspective of an alcoholic or a drunk, isn't it? And how they see the world in fragmented versions.
It's a very long time since I've seen it, but it is basically, it's set in, no, it's not Glasgow, is it? Is it Edinburgh? Is it actually in Edinburgh?
What, Trainspotting?
Yeah, is it in Edinburgh or Glasgow? I can't remember where it's set.
It's one of them two.
It's
certainly
Scotland.
Not in Aberdeen anyway, is it?
But it does show the seedier side of life in Scotland. And,
yeah.
And I'm thinking of the soundtrack albums, movie soundtrack albums that were big in the 90s. There was that American film Singles. Do you remember that one? That was in the early 90s. And that
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that was the... Singles was the grunge movie, the grunge soundtrack. Pulp Fiction was probably the most popular Tarantino soundtrack. That was, 94? And then this one is the other one that I think of, Trainspotting.
See, my other one would be Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Ah, right, yeah.
You see, that's got some cool stuff on it.
Most excellent.
I can
imagine that being your kind of thing. Are they the ones that said bodacious? Is that right?
Bodacious. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, Bodacious Babes.
Oh, that was them. That wasn't the Mike Myers one. That wasn't Wayne's World.
Or was it Wayne's World?
I tend to
think it might have been Wayne's World. No, because I'm sure they called when they met the princesses from London. I'm sure the world the most bodacious of babes. But
Okay.
don't quote me on
I tend to
that one.
confuse my silly frat boy type comedy movies, and they
Yeah,
all blur into one. But okay, so well, Ben, you've been a champion all the way through this of Underworld's Born Slipper. You told us it means so much to you, and
it does, but so does Your Woman. But I think Born Slippy means I don't know. This is really hard. This isn't Lou Bega versus John Lennon, is it? This is
well, for me, I'm going to have to deploy the argument that I've used when this has come up against other fairly credible records. I think on its way to the semi-finals, and that is that this is such a track that is so iconic of that.
entrenched.
Yeah, it was the mid 90s. It was around about the time, particularly in this country, it was quite culturally. We had a lot of the British bands, the so-called Britpop era, and there was a vibe going around, wasn't there? That when you went out
Cool
to
Britannia.
when you went out to bars and clubs, that all the current music was kind of cool and was popular, and British music was doing well, and this was different to a lot of that because it was a dance track, not a guitar band.
Yeah.
But there was some dance stuff doing well at that time. The Chemical Brothers and other things,
Dig your own hole.
Prodigy, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this fitted in very well with that, and it's just one of those tracks that worked really well in a pub or particularly in a nightclub. And when you were out on the street and you heard it coming out of a bar,
Lager,
it sounded
shouting.
good as well. So it really does sum up that whole 1990s for me.
Yeah. And another
And
one of those famous number twos of the 90s,
yeah, yeah,
along with
yeah.
Wonderwall and Slight Return, etc.
So I do feel that it's more iconic in the 90s than the White Town record, even though I bought the White Town record and I didn't buy the Underworld record. I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
think
No, I get your argument.
that Underworld has got to go through.
I think that it does sum up that period quite well. So, begrudgingly, Phil,
I
I'm
think
agreeing with you.
the other way to look at it is that the White Town record was a great record. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but the White Town record was a great, cool, clever pop record. It was a great record to listen to on your own or on your Walkman or that kind of thing. Whereas the Underworld record was a record that you
A collective experience.
enjoyed it in a group of people when other people were around more. It's a
Oh yeah,
very
when that opening dum 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 comes in, it's sort of a bit like that Faithless song from around the same time.
I'm saying that the
Everybody's
White
like,
yeah.
yeah.
I was saying that the White Town one is more cerebral. There's something. It has something. It's not quite the same. It has something in common with the Pet Shop Boys, that kind of thing. It's sort of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
clever pop with a little bit of an intellectual edge to it. Whereas Underworld is more just sort of like
Lads with a chainsaw.
it's kind of like the dance version of Oasis in a way, isn't it? Really, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. Because he sings about a lot of the stuff what you would sort of associate with Oasis at that time.
in fact you
Lager,
could.
lager, and a lot of
Well,
shouting.
you can imagine if Oasis had done a song at that time in which the chorus was Liam saying "lager, lager, lager, shout it," it would have got people
Mad for it.
going mad for it, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying it's so 90s that I've got to put Born Slippy into the final
No,
for
I
me.
can't. I can't disagree with you with that one. So it's been a. Do you know what? Your Woman White Town was actually my pick. I thought that was going to win it because of it is slightly different and it is that sort of quirkiness.
I do feel it was a contender and it's a worthy semi-finalist.
But it does sample something, whereas Born Slippy Underworld is a full original.
So there you
So
go.
it's going through. So right, left, the last.
There's only two left, and it's interesting that these two are both. Well, there's something in common as well. Similar kind of. How would you describe them? They're kind of like they're mainstream pop rock type songs, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Both
Well,
both bothered the charts considerably. Both got quite high up, I think.
yes, yeah. Do you
I
want me
don't
to?
think either was a number one, though, was it?
No, wasn't. No, no. But it is Save Tonight, Eagle Eye Cherry.
And these, of course, are the two American records in the mix as well.
They are, yes, it is. The New Radicals, and you only get what you give.
Now, the New Radicals, they were an LA band, weren't they? They're Californian, I think, they're Los Angeles
Californian, yeah, Greg
area.
Alexander, Daniel Braybois. They operated a sort of revolving door style to the band. They didn't have any sort of fixed members apart from them two. So,
And how long did they exist for after that?
well, Greg Alexander had released 2 albums leading up to that. I think, now I might get these the wrong way round, but Michigan Rain was the first album, could have been the second one, and Intoxication was the second album. Yeah, I've got them both, and they're a little bit away from what the New Radicals became, but you can see where it was sort of heading. But they weren't around for very long. I think Greg Alexander, you'll see him, I think, on the YouTube clip of when he's on Top of the Pops and TFI Fridays. He wears that bucket hat quite low.
Right.
And that was always because I think he'd come to that point, he'd been in the music industry for 10 plus years or trying to get into it. He'd been dropped by labels, etc. That he realised that he had quite a bit of a, not disdain, but he'd just become tiresome of the interviews and touring, etc. So he wore the hat, and that was sort of a symbol of, so people couldn't see how disinterested he was. So there you go. But brilliant. It's from a brilliant album. A really, really good album. One of my favourite albums of all time.
Yeah, which I still have never listened to. And
You need to listen to it. It's a really...
I'll have to stick it on in the car. It probably works well in the car, does it? That kind of record, I'll have to put it on. And
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, like I said, I think I said previously, it's slightly world party in places, but the one thing I'll say about Greg Alexander and Rick Knowles, I think it is, the other songwriter, etc. They know how to write a melody. They know how to write a chorus. And those earworms that bury their... Hence why he wrote for Ronan Keating, I suppose.
And there's 10 of those on this album.
Yeah. There's not a single... I would say it's one of those albums where you listen to it and every single one of them tells a different story, every single. And it's got one of those tracks on it you were talking about where you can't really hear the lyrics, called Maybe You've Been Brainwashed Too, which I think includes a line about, I did the baboon, yeah.
Okay. I do quite like songs where you can't always make out the lyrics.
Yeah.
Can you hear squeaking?
No, just your voice
is my chair
continuously squeaking in my ear.
Sorry, I thought I can hear my chair squeaking.
No. And then obviously you've got Eagle Eye Cherry, which is another great... It's a feel-good song. Is it as iconic or as 90s as the New Radicals one?
Well, both these are right at the burning fag end of the 90s, these songs.
Yeah. And one thing I will say about both of these tracks is neither one of them, and this came on in my headphones today while I was in the gym, building up the guns. Neither of these sound dated, which I think is a good sign of any track. You know, when you sort of listen to a track of a certain period and they sound, well, yeah, it sounds of its time. So when you watch Con Air, if you watch Con Air now, it looks, it was done in the 90s.
Okay.
Whereas these two, like I think we said about Eagle Eye Cherry, it could have been a song from the 80s, the 70s. It could have come out now. But it's so hard because this is definitely Drowning the Puppies, and which one am I going to save?
Do you want me to give you my opinion on this?
Go on, and you give me your opinion, and then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
It's difficult to really pick between these two. Don't dislike either record. Both great. Both work well on the radio. That kind of song. I feel that the New Radicals one has slightly more zing about it than the Eagle Eye Cherry one. If you know what I mean, it's just got a bit more pop magic about it. It's got a bit more,
and it's got a little bit of angst in it as well.
There is angst in it as well, but it's got that chorus. There's a bit more of a soaring kind of melody thing in it, hasn't it? It's got the way it's got more of an uplifting quality. than the
Yeah.
Eagle Eye Cherry one. So on that basis, um, I would probably go for the New Radicals one. I think.
Yeah, well, I am also going to go for the New Radicals one because this track this does get me through some bad times, and we all have them in our lives. And this one, my daughter loves this song as well. So
Nice. So you're using all the emotional levers now, aren't you, to
I
make sure
am,
I
aren't I?
don't
Yeah. I'm
change my
literally
mind.
prizing them in, prizing them in.
So, well, we have not saved Eagle Eye Cherry tonight.
We have not saved Eagle Eye Cherry tonight. We are dumping him out. I can't think of anything else to say. We are
Well, he goes
literally
out. He goes out with honours. You know, he's not going to be ripped up or burned or anything like that, like you did with some of the earlier records. We're just going
no
to place him respectfully in the
in the
loser
bin.
pile.
Yeah, and we won't do what they do in the World Cup, where they have to have a third, fourth playoff. We're
No,
saving
no, we won't
the
do
indignity of that. So
that.
your woman and Eagle Eye Cherry get bronze medals. Well done to them both. Well done. High.
Okay,
So
so
the final is Phil. After 4 odd weeks or what seems a lifetime, it's Born Slippy
Born Slippy by
against
Underworld.
the New Radicals.
Underworld versus the New Radicals. It's a transatlantic face-off.
It is. It is. Can we come dressed as the 90s for the final and have like hats?
If you really want to do that, then
Can we have
yeah.
party hats and party poppers?
I haven't changed most of my shirts since the 90s, so it probably won't take me very long to get changed. But
No, I haven't changed my underwear. I only do it when it stops bending. So
I have actually got some shirts that I have had since the 90s. I don't think I've worn any in a while, but I have got some that are that old. So certainly got some that from the early 2000s for sure.
I think I've got some T-shirts up in my loft because I've got about 1,000 up there. But my dad does own some shirts of mine from the 90s, which I handed down to him, and they're still really good condition. He still wears them now.
Wow.
So there we go. The 90s was built to last.
Join us for that grand final and find out how we're going to end this. Well, what has it been? A knockout tournament.
We're going to do it with a party, Phil, with a big party.
I think
cake.
we're going to do some more knockout tournaments. It may become our thing, but we'll have to do them with some of the theme. But for now, It's the 90s. It's not yet over. Until it's over, join us for that grand final. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your follows, your comments, your shares, and we will see you very shortly.